Well, as mentioned on Alex Garrett Podcasting, I love to bring people on that are just doing things and making things happen for their business, for their community, and in their livelihoods. And my next guest, who you've heard her before, Moni K, LLC. You know, your name is Monika Brostowska, but Moni K, LLC is just a little shorter, and it just sounds so cool that you got your LLC, Moni. So thanks for joining me tonight.
I'm excited to be here.
So we talk about energy and we talked about your company. First of all, since we last talked, what's been going on with your entrepreneurial adventures?
Oh, I wasn't entirely prepared for the workload that I got, but I can't complain because it's exactly what I wanted. So things are picking up, and that's great because new year, new cycle. So I'm very, very excited to see where it goes, and just to keep building from here.
Well, let's talk about that. So you do your different presentations, different Zooms, different events. I was on one, I think, either 2 years ago already. That's crazy. But you're not only a company, you're educating people on the energy component to saving energy. So tell us about the educational purposes of Moni K LLC.
Absolutely. So that actually I would answer in two parts, because I do have one series that I started in the beginning of when I opened this company, and can you believe it's almost been 3 years? So when I first started, it was a series on YouTube called Environments Are Us, so kind of like Toys R Us, because its main point was to educate kids between the ages of 5 and 18, mostly younger age, elementary and middle school, but I also wanted to make sure that high school kids got involved, so there's also a segment for them. So that's where it started. It started with education for kids about the environment, but then I expanded recently, and now I'm going to be teaching adults as well about a few different topics that relate to my company. So one of the topics is small business consulting. The other is construction, there's international relations, security, and the environment. So I believe there's about 5 or 6 topics that I'll be speaking about every week on Thursdays. And if you want to talk more about that, I'm happy to.
Well, tell us about how you've become so well-rounded on different topics to where you could be educating everyone, because that's a broad curriculum, if you will.
It is, and I get that question a lot. I would have to say that the number one is just the kind of person that I am. I am very well read and educated and extremely curious, so I'm constantly learning new information. And because of my interest in that, I also went to school. I got my bachelor's in environmental studies with a philosophy. And those two do actually tie in more than people think. And then now I'm doing my master's. I'm about halfway done, and I'm doing that in international relations. And I'm also learning about some security during that program. So, and I think that covers about 2/3 of what I mentioned in topics. And I'd say that the remaining third part would be just work experience. I've had a lot of different jobs that relate in the construction field and in the energy field. So I've learned a lot over the last few years.
Well, Monika, as if I remember correctly, last time we talked, you had mentioned something about national security, that you had been interested in that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what was the, it sounds like you're advancing in that. I think the security part is more interesting because how does it tie into the environment? A lot of people wonder why, say, terrorism and the environment are both equated as, threats to the world. Tell us why both are hand in hand. Why security and the environment do go hand in hand.
Well, I would start with a top to bottom kind of response. I'd say that the most obvious top would be that we need the environment to live, and therefore we must protect it. And, that is not just national, but international. It's global. We all have to participate in it. And then going a little bit more narrow, let's say we have to protect our infrastructure, especially if we're going to be developing, solar panel areas and microgrids. And the more things are connected, the more security we're going to need to make sure that those things stay the way they're supposed to.
And when you say infrastructure, you also probably mean cybersecurity also. I don't know if you're going into that at all, but I feel like that's part of it too.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's what I had in mind while I was speaking, actually, especially with microgrids, because everything is, it's not as physically connected, I'd say. It's more about the Internet of Things and digitally connected. There's a lot of things that go into it, but because of all of that, the way that it's connected, there is a need for cybersecurity as well as physical security.
So true. So, and if we have solid cybersecurity, that could also protect the environment. Now, you also talk about the solar energy, do you not? I remember we talked about solar panels. And is it me? Or is Queens getting more and more of those as we go along here?
Yes. So actually, amazing story about that. I worked on a project for Queens College, both theoretically and realistically. Oh, that's the right word. But so theoretically, I made an honors thesis about the potential for solar panels on the campus. So I did a whole thing about that. And then actually, there were a few stakeholders that picked up a project. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sustainable CUNY and with Willdan Energy Solutions. But there was, and I'm sure there was a few other players in that, but those are the two that I'd like to mention just because I worked for those two. Wow. So there is an ongoing project that started many years ago in 2016, and it is a electric vehicle and panel project for solar energy, actually, for Queens College. So it started a few years ago. Everything was designed and everything. As with a lot of big projects, things happened along the way that delayed it, but I just got exciting news that they're picking the project back up. So
wow.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, that's sort of a, I don't want to say post-pandemic treat, but that is definitely a welcoming sign 2 years later that maybe some projects are getting back to normal here.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I was really happy to hear that news. It's something that I really would like to see for the campus, and I'm sure a lot of us would.
Well, I know that the borough of Queens itself, there's a lot more people, buying into solar energy, and it's very fascinating to see the panels. But I want people to get to know you a little more because you're beyond, you're not just an entrepreneur, you're not just doing these different projects, but you're also staying fit, you're staying nutritionally active. I mean, you're on there educating people on how to just have a good mindset, good health also.
Yes, that's correct. And it's funny because that also ties back into entrepreneurship because I've decided that I want to turn that passion for fitness into a brand.
Okay.
So I'm hoping this year, fingers crossed, that I'll be able to open it. But it's something I want to teach people about, not just fitness, because that is a big part of it, fitness and health, but I wanted to teach more within that brand. So helping people get active and eating better, but also I want to provide them with survival skills. And to explain that I want to start teaching self-defense classes and kind of like survival tips.
Sure.
What to do if you're in this situation, kind of thing.
Well, I know that you've had a lot of different experience over the last year, but the stuff that you've been going through personally, how does that motivate you to keep this business going? How does it motivate you to keep people educated on the survival skills?
Well, I'm actually glad you asked that, because what I go through and what I am passionate about permeates everything I do. So I wouldn't do anything unless I really cared about it personally. And I'd say that I found myself in a lot of situations that maybe if I had known something I could have avoided, and I would have been really happy to avoid them. And because of that, it inspires me to teach other people about it, so that maybe, they can avoid these situations themselves, something that I couldn't do before because I didn't have anyone.
Well, I was going to say, you're very open on social media, and sometimes it's very tough. So do you find that social media is helping people open up, or do you feel like people are still very sort of sheltered, if you will, and they don't want to talk about what they've gone through, and that you want to inspire people to do just that?
I would say a little bit of both. Also because I feel that way. I know that I personally am kind of a very private person, that I guess I kind of try to uphold a certain strength that I do have, but sometimes I have to kind of act like I'm stronger than I am feeling. I don't want to say stronger than I am, but stronger than I'm feeling at the moment, because everyone goes through their emotions and things that are difficult in life. So we're not all always 100%. It's just not possible.
Sure.
So sometimes I worry that maybe people will see my more vulnerable side. But I also think that there's strength in vulnerability. By being vulnerable, I am also being strong by letting people in and seeing the truth about my life and about things that I've been through. And hopefully by doing so, it'll inspire them to do the same and to talk about it. And hopefully by talking about it, we can overcome it.
Generationally, I feel like us 90s kids, and maybe it was the way we were upbringing, we're just kind of stoic about everything. But the generations after us are sort of just complaining about everything. It's just a weird shift we're going through. So there's got to be a balance out here, I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, because the older I get, the more I've been thinking about, my future kids someday, right? And I've been thinking about it a lot lately, like do I, because we as a generation, the 90s kids, we always had to work really hard. We had a lot of things that we really had to earn,
Yeah.
And it's like you said, the younger generations, I don't know. I feel like some things are easier for them. And in a way, it's supposed to be. That's kind of the point. We are supposed to make it easier for the next generation. But do they lose the value in it?
Of what it means to earn something.
Know how difficult it was,
Exactly. Well, that is very wise. Moni, I got to ask you about these, what I like to call fireside chats that you do, and I know you're doing one this Thursday night. So when you do talk to the community, what's that rush like for you?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat? What is that?
When you talk to the community, what's that rush for you like? What's that like?
Oh, what is it like for me to speak to the community?
Yeah, when you do these different things like Thursdays with Moni and other things like that.
Sure. Well, for me, it's exciting because I get to talk about what I like to talk about. And also it's exciting because I get to meet new people, because they're usually open to the public. So, I get to meet new individuals that care about the same topics. And I also get to learn. So it's not just me speaking, but I get to learn about other people and what they think and what jobs they had. And it's just really, it's fun and enlightening, I'd say.
Well, how can people find out about your next event, which I believe is this Thursday night?
Sure. So I actually have I have an Instagram, and that would be Moni K LLC.
And I believe
You can
that's
just search that up.
Money_K_LLC, I believe.
That's right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And, I got to ask this because I know you've been doing a lot on Zoom and a lot of are you going to do any in-person events in 2022?
Yes, absolutely, and I can't wait.
Well, keep us posted on that.
I've been waiting a long time for it, and I'm very excited.
You also have a couple other Instagrams. I know that you do the designs and whatnot. So you're very versatile, if you will.
Yes, I am.
And I don't know. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like what are the things you do besides, alongside your entrepreneurial, your business? Because I'm curious.
Let's see. As my life has been business oriented, I turned everything I love into my business, so it's kind of intertwined, inseparable. But I'd say that the thing that I really do that's outside of my business, that's kind of for me, I'd say singing, actually.
Really?
A lot more lately. As a kid, I was in chorus growing up, so I spent a good amount of my life singing, but lately I've been recording YouTube videos of me just covering some songs that I really like, and that's been nice. It's an outlet for me.
That sounds really cool. Well, if you want people to check that out, let us know, and we'll cheer you on.
Definitely. I love that.
All right, Moni. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, and I feel like there's so much we could talk to. What are you going to cover this Thursday night?
So this Thursday is actually going to be small business consulting, and I'm starting it off with that one because I kind of want to tell the origin story of my company. So I'm going to be going a little bit more into detail about that.
And I know that you had actually started your business in the pandemic, which is, to me, a heroic effort. How has the business been? How's the staffing? How did you get people, and how were people able to invest in your company even during a pandemic, I guess is my question.
Well, I would say that the best way for me right now, and the best way for other people to help, is to just participate. I actually really want to build these events. I want to get people involved. I think it would be great for everyone.
Well, yeah,
and it's free, so
that's a cornerstone.
There's no boss there.
That is a cornerstone. Well, looking forward to that. And Moni, have us back. I'll have you back after this one, and we can recap it perhaps.
Sounds great.
That sounds awesome. I'm Alex Garrett with Moni K LLC. Monica Brusowska, Queens College alumnus, by the way, and always fun to have her on. Thanks again, Monica.
Thank you.
I'm Alex Garrett, where we're always adapting, and we're bringing people that, should be interviewed more, in my opinion. And stay with us for more on Alex Garrett Podcasting.